Oh, lost my thing again. Here we go. Hello, sisters. I'll begin by providing an update on some recent activities of our chapter. On September 3rd, WDI USA and other organizations sent a letter to Tim Buckley, the Senior VP of External Affairs at the NCAA, urging him to ensure that women's collegiate sports are female only. You can read or download our letter at the link I provided. We also published a blog post from our lesbian caucus titled "An Attempt at Lesbian Conversion from the Right." Its opening paragraph reads, "Trump officials have subpoenaed confidential data from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia about children seeking medical treatment for the purpose of disguising their sex. Because Article 9 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights protects the rights of children, and because most girls receiving the harmful medical services aimed at disguising sex are lesbians, the WDI USA Lesbian Caucus is concerned with the reasons behind this subpoena. Additionally, we've been busy preparing for our upcoming convention, Growing the Women's Liberation Movement, which is now only 10 days away. As I mentioned before the summer break, WDI USA is hoping to file amicus briefs in 3 different legal cases that will impact the sex-based rights of women and girls. 2 of the cases, West Virginia versus BPJ and Little versus Hecox, center on the constitutionality of laws protecting single-sex sports and will be heard by the Supreme Court. In both cases, the ACLU represents male athletes who claim to be female. However, as Kerri posted on X, the ACLU is now trying to tank one of its own cases because it doesn't like its chances before the US Supreme Court. As described by Kristen Wagoner of ADF Legal, the ACLU has filed a dismissal at the lower court in Little versus Hecox and asked the court to declare the appeal moot. This is a desperate, bad faith move that the court should soundly reject. She goes on to say, let's be clear. The ACLU picked this fight. In red states throughout America, they've gone on offense, filing lawsuits against common sense laws meant to protect women's sports. In their 5-year litigation against Idaho's law, the ACLU has repeatedly argued that this issue is a live controversy and is not moot. They won at the Ninth Circuit, forcing Idahoans to allow men and women's sports against their will. And now that the Supreme Court has taken up the case, they suddenly want to take their ball and go home. The issue of men and women's sports is an ongoing nationwide controversy. It deserves its day at America's highest court. As an added note, we're still actively soliciting the funds necessary to file briefs in these cases, and we'd appreciate any contributions supporters are able to share. On September 2nd, Icons announced that USA Cycling, which surrendered more women's podium spots to male athletes than any other governing body, has released a new policy. Only those female at birth may compete in the women's category. While the new policy is encouraging, it appears to include a few loopholes that could, conceivably, allow men in the women's category. Still, the female cyclists I've interacted with are, for the most part, encouraged by it and interested in seeing what USAC actually enforces in upcoming competitions. In other sports news last week, Redux reported that 3 female athletes at Santa Rosa Junior College have filed a federal Title IX complaint demanding the removal of male player Jimena Gomez from their volleyball team. The women say they were penalized for expressing concerns about Gomez, even after he concussed a teammate during a practice session in 2024 by spiking a ball at her head. The filing accuses the college and the California Community College Athletic Association of egregious violations of women's rights, claiming current policies allow men to take roster spots, invade locker room privacy, and even inflict injuries on female athletes. On September 8th, Redux also reported that a man with multiple convictions for domestic assault has been quietly transferred into Minnesota's only female prison, MCF Shakopee, where he has now been accused of attacking a female inmate. Nathan Trevon Jones, who calls himself Natalia, is a repeat offender who was most recently convicted of assault in the fifth degree. On the third, Lila Meckelwaite, co-founder and CEO of the Justice Defense Fund, which seeks to bring justice to survivors of online sexual crime, shared that the U.S. Federal Trade Commission is finally holding Pornhub and other pornography streaming sites accountable for deceiving and defrauding consumers by deceptively saying their content was legal while knowing it was infested with child abuse and rape. Closing on a positive note, last week, dozens of students at James L. Day Middle School in Temecula, California, staged a walkout to make a simple point. Girls deserve bodily privacy and shouldn't be compelled to undress next to boys. While the walkout was led by girls, parents as well as boys joined them in support. The students were protesting a school district policy proposal that affirms access to bathrooms and locker rooms consistent with the student's gender identity and would require girls who object to mixed sex changing areas to file a mental health or religious belief accommodation form in order to opt out. The walkout was sparked after a male student who identifies as female has been allowed to use the girls' locker room since the start of the school year. Kara's Female Free Speech Friday post this last week goes into more detail about the walkout and celebrates the female students who organized it. That's all I have today. Thank you.